state of security in Nigeria during the president's first month in office, with escalating concerns over insurgency, banditry, and other security challenges, get our attention. President Tinubu pledged to tackle these issues head on. In the past month, we have witnessed a series of strategic appointments and policy implementations aimed at restoring peace and stability across the nation. Tonight, we will try to assess the impact of President Tinubu's initiatives on the overall security situation in Nigeria and analyze whether his administration has been able to make significant strides towards ensuring the safety and well-being of all Nigerians. I'm being joined tonight to give insight into some of these issues by a former spokesperson of the Nigerian Army, Brigadier General Sani Usman. We'll popularly call him SK Usman. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Good evening, and thank you for having me on your program.
Thank you so much. Let me take this issue because I think it's of less significance to the larger issue. It's about the directive by the military that senior officers should retire. And there are those who have been arguing, why is this happening? But I know that perhaps it's some kind of procedure when you have your junior being promoted automatically in the military. As those, give us an insight on what this is about.
Yeah, well, a lot of people tend to misunderstand the military profession as it is, and the tenets around which military service revolve basically is issue of discipline, ethics, customs, and traditions. Over time, it has been that a new service chief is appointed, and you are senior to him as of the time of commission. To avoid an awkward situation, it is expected those that are senior to him should, voluntarily retire. Otherwise, they may be retired simply because you just have to maintain the hierarchy. It's quite understandable among the military. I don't know why some people look at it that way, because right now as it is, you have instances that you might even left the army at the rank of even a major. But you have instances because of the respect, the regimentation, esprit de corps, and what have you, that's somebody who was able to make it to two-star general, calling you sir and saluting you, simply because that tradition has to be maintained. So invariably, again, whenever there is reorganization in the army, and of course change of service chief is a major organization in the military, so to speak, it is expected that some officers will be called to resign. So these are some of the things that make up, and it is not as if they are losing anything, simply because there are provisions. Apart from the entitlement, there is also opportunity to explore, because we have had even instances where officers who retired regretted not retiring much earlier because there are abundant opportunities outside there. So I think we shouldn't trivialize this issue. It's something that people should not be afraid of it. Yes, some people will think of it from very many perspectives, the cost implication of training an average officer. But it is not just the officer. Right now, the Nigerian Army that I know, we have even soldiers. When I mean soldiers, the non-commissioned officers that are PhD holders. So basically, the military is one of the most experienced and highly trained among the segments of the professional groups in this country. So I can understand why people are worried. But at the same time, usually when you are venturing into things new, you tend to be a little bit apprehensive because you don't know what the future portends. But I can tell you the future is bright, and there are so many opportunities. And more so now, the military has even taken it upon itself to engage those that retired on a contract basis as consultants, and they are doing marvelously well. And you won't even know till when you compare the two. You are in the military, you have a different perspective because of the nature of military service. Then outside, you compare, then you will understand what it is. But most importantly, again, is the fact that people should understand the nature of military profession. Among all the professional groups in this country, the world over, it is the only profession that you give one of those most precious possessions, God-given life, in the defense of the territorial integrity of your country. So basically, when you look at that, you know you cannot do that unless you obey extant laws and certain traditions and customs that built and strengthen the institution. And so part of those things are those things. Yes, some people will argue about the legal framework, you know, the harmonized terms and conditions of services and all the rest. But naturally, but it is not the other way around. So maybe you can argue about the legal framework, but these are normal things.
Traditional, conventional issues.
And nobody stays more than 35 years in the service. And if you look at even a major general, for instance, given the number of years that he stays at that rank, you have about 3 or 4, because it is not everybody that makes it to that rank in the first attempt. Some got it second, some third, and, you know, unless when you are unable to make it at the third attempt, then you leave. But most importantly is the fact that if you look at even the promotion, how they come about the promotion. I know of the Army that, take for instance, if this year the overall vacancy from the rank of a 1-star general to a 2-star general is 20 people only. Let's say there are about 150 brigadier generals, for instance. I'm just giving a rough estimate. And there will only be 20 people that will be promoted to the rank of 2-star general. But the rule is that you cannot even promote those 20. The vacancy. Maximum you promote only 60% of it. I heard you when you were asking Professor Ken to break it down. I'm also a layman mathematician. So you work out with 60% of 20. And that is what you continuously be carrying over. It is not as if there are no procedures. There are procedures. And every officer knows about that.
Let me take you to, I wanted us to deal with that because that got a lot of debate amongst Nigerians who are laymen in considering the issues of the military. But I know you probably know General Lagbaja, who is going to be heading the army now.
He's already heading the army.
He's heading the army. And we look at the initial security decision of President Tinubu, the dissolution of the service chief. But we do know that the head of the DSS is still being maintained, and the head of the NIA, nothing has changed. But from the NSA to all the service chiefs have all been changed. But from, let me take you from where you, the most familiar to the less familiar. General Lagbaja, for example. What kind of quality of a general is he? And the kind of popularity that he has within the military, what should Nigerians be expecting?
Well, I think this program will not suffice to describe the quality of such fantastic general and gentleman senior officer, for the simple fact that he had paid his metros, you know, over the number of years that he has been in service. And this is someone that has attended all the courses commensurate to the various rank that he was and the appointment. Then, of course, he has held so many appointments, most importantly, the command, particularly for a senior infantry officer. You know, right from the platoon commander, company commander, you know, battalion 2IC, battalion commander, brigade commander, and general officer commanding twice. So he has the experience, and most importantly, he was even a battalion commander of the special forces, battalion that time, before the expansion that we have even a corps of the special forces. So you can understand the level of experience that he has. And it is not surprising again that he's so popular. And apart from that also, this is the kind of general that also leads in the front. We've had instances when he was in 82 Division at the height of you know, the secessionist agitations, and of course when he moved to 1 Division with headquarters in Kaduna, you know, dealing decisively, you know, with the issue of banditry and kidnapping, leading patrols and all the rest. And that is why sometimes we were laughing when we had somebody claiming that actually he was responsible for the restoration of, peace and security in that area. And it's an area that we are very, very familiar. We were there, and I had the privilege of serving in one division when the area of operational responsibility covered 10 northwestern states, including some in the north central. So it's something that we know. So there is no doubt about the fact that not only him, all of them,
all right.
They are one of the best qualities material to head the armed forces.
So Nigerians should be glad of this appointment. Very. Let's look at the challenges that we have presently. Enuhu Ribadu as an NSA. There is this challenge in the North Central, Zamfara. Plateau State is experiencing a Mangu local government. The governor has been on this program talking about these issues. For some of those who are referred to as alien, that you cannot even identify the language they speak. What we see in Taraba, what we see in Kaduna, the challenges are enormous. The IG, for example, had said, look, I feel like a leopard, I feel like a tiger, hoping to devour the enemies of yes, the commitment that is made. They have a lot of work on their hands. But we know also that there is a counterterrorism center that has been that we now know it came to public light. How do you think that they can approach these challenges and nip these problems in the bud? What should they be looking at?
Maybe you are not following things. The Counter-Terrorism Center is headed by a two-star general, even though of the Nigerian Navy. So it has been there, and it has been doing marvelously well, except for the fact that it was domiciled in the National Security Advisor's Office. Having said that, I think we were talking about the quality of the service, right from the Chief of Defense Staff. In fact, you can include the Chief of, the National Security Advisor, given their pedigree and, great wealth of experience in dealing with security challenges in this country. Of course, we know his marvelous job as chairman of EFCC and so on. So now you have made mention of all the security challenges in Taraba, in Kaduna, and some other parts of the country. Now, there was something that has been missing in dealing with some of the security challenges, be it counter-insurgency, counter-terrorism, and of course, the novelty of banditry and kidnapping. Remember, it was even the military that started to deal with the issue of kidnapping in the southeastern part by establishing 14th Brigade. Okay, so what was wrong actually? The absence of a whole society approach in dealing with security challenges, because it is not all of these security challenges that require kinetic solutions, because inherently they were brought about by a sense of deprivation or a competition for scarce resources. And some of them are even local. Then the second issue is the fact that various components of Nigerian society were even working at cross purpose with each other. Take, for instance, there were instances in the northwestern part of the country, some of the state governors who opted for, opted to negotiate with the bandits. Whereas some said no. And I'm so happy one of them also was towing that line, simply because there are certain things that really there is nothing to negotiate about. But of course, in dealing with these security challenges, you cannot say that you will go full-scale force. You have to mix both kinetic and non-kinetic aspects. And unless we do that, and we integrate other components of Nigerian society into the fight against terrorism and insurgency or banditry and what have you. And typical example was the former Chief of Defense Staff Action Committee, with the victims of Kaduna train attack. Just 7 people. Most of them retired military officers, some of them intellectuals who had no connection whatsoever with government. They were able to achieve something that was unprecedented, negotiating and getting 23 people, back to the society. So if such people could do that marvelous job, what more of other components of Nigerian society that had been neglected over time?
So the issue,
how do you integrate them?
So,
I'm coming
General,
to that, show.
Yeah.
I'm coming to that. What I'm trying to say is that by the time we integrate and we look at security, it's a collective responsibility. Yes, there must be leadership. The government has to give strategic directives, but you must, just like the National Security Strategy 2019 stated, you know, the whole society approach, the Joint Intelligence Center, and what have you. Unless we do so, we'll continue to have the problems. And of course, going back to what you are saying about the service chiefs, the national security advisors, these are some of the challenges. So the government has to come into play, you know, to make sure that there is good governance, employment opportunities, social security, to ensure that every citizen has a sense of belonging so that she or he will contribute to the well-being, I mean, to the security, to the solution of security challenges in this country. So that if they see, they know what to do or whom to approach. And it is not just enough, those who are statutorily responsible to act will act expeditiously.
Now, part of the agenda of the Tinubu administration and their campaign was to recruit more boots to help. I mean, the fact that we don't have enough. But you have touched on the issue of community policing, state policing, things bordering on issues of state policing and how community involvement needs to come in securing this nation. If there is one way to start, the low-hanging fruit for the government to look into, there are initial security decisions that have been made by this government. But if there is one immediate and urgent one that they need to make right now, what would that be?
It's to consolidate on the gains made so far. And part of it is to continue with targeted operation on some of these bandits, kidnappers, as well as terrorists and insurgents. But beyond that, is to embark on constructive engagement, dialogue with the components of Nigerian society, because we have been experiencing divisive tendencies on the part of Nigerians and the politicization of security. So basically, these are the issue. Now that you have even talked about community policing and, of course, state security outreach and all the rest, I think we should be able to integrate them. Because let's look at it this way. What brought about these security challenges that we have, to a large extent, is issue of good governance or bad governance, as the case may be, and the fact that we neglected our policing system over time. There is no country in the world, I mean, all the countries of the world that I know, none of them that is not having any police. Of course, there are some without even armed forces. But including the Vatican, I have been there, they have police. And they are well-equipped, well-trained. And the number was adequate, commensurate to the security challenges they are experiencing. So to what extent have we strengthened the number of the police men and women we have in this country?
So we need to recruit more people.
To what extent have we trained them, equipped them to meet up with the challenges of the 21st century?
So we need to spend more funding.
Exactly,
more
and technology and so on. And it is not just the policing system, but other security, part of the security architecture. So basically, but the most important aspect of it all is the Nigerian citizen. To what extent have you really make him or her comfortable to be bare above necessities of life, to contribute meaningfully to national development?
General, I'd like us to anchor quickly on this one, and in a few seconds, if you may. The governor of Borno State raised a concern about the reappearance of some terrorist elements in Borno State. What can be done immediately in this regard? That is a worrying comment and concern from that governor.
What should be done? I think what needs to be done, there is even a bigger problem, which I believe to a large extent has connection to what he has just said. We had been fighting terrorism and insurgency for the last 13 years or so to speak. And we have reached the point that something unprecedented happened, that we have almost 100,000, repentant, Boko Harams voluntarily, laying down their arms. They are being sustained by the meager resources of Borno state government and the military. Now, the federal government has to come into play in the sense that how do you, solve that problem? The issue of training, integration into the society, buying in of the people, the justice system, and so on. So I believe if we are able to deal with that issue, I believe the issue of those foreigners that he observed might not be. Of course, there are so many theories about, the complex situation in Mali, the complex situation in Burkina Faso, the complex situation in Libya is still raging on. And of course, even our Niger neighbors far north, they are having problems. And there are proliferation of small and light, as well as medium. So you have to tie it in most importantly, it is not even the issue of border security, but you have to improve on the intelligence gathering. But most importantly, interagency, cooperation, collaboration, and coordination.
Thanks so much, General. S.K. Usman, a former spokesperson of the Nigerian Army. Thank you so much indeed. It's always a pleasure. One can never get enough from you, from the several years of experience.
Thank you so much. And next time, don't make me to drive so fast.
Thank you so much, General.